Yeah, Overlord. Hey everyone, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk some Overlord, episode 4, season 2. So, this episode, it was pretty good, pretty fun. This episode we took a break from the lizard folk problems and we went back and just refocused on the Overlord crew, which was good. I was missing these guys, and it was just kind of neat to see how everyone was behaving. It was just kind of neat to see how Ainz or Mawanga, or the player character that's underneath that lichdom, how he was feeling about the whole situation, which was pretty worthwhile. Now, you know, in this episode we have some of the usual antics that have been established with Overlord, and also just a continuation of the dynamics that we've kind of seen from the lizard folk. You know, with the lizard folk, we just see them continue to bond, continue to get closer. They're celebrating their victory. Crush and our boy Zaryusu, he ends up having a romantic moment, which our great friend ends up going in there and being the effective third wheel. I was so happy to see that. You know, we have that going on. And on Overlord's side, we have them just doing the regular old thing where they listen to Ainz, they treat him with pomp and circumstance, and to some degree you can see that they might misinterpret what Ainz is saying. They misinterpret that stoic demeanor, and they continue to believe this man is worth worshipping the ground he walks on, which, to be fair, in game terms, this guy got to such a high level, it's totally fair to worship him. So, you know, we have the regular things going on. The real value here, I do think, is really with Cocytus and, you know, his ability to grow, because that is something that Ainz ultimately touches on. It's the people's ability to change and grow, and his surprise does capture the idea really well. He was surprised at what Cocytus ends up suggesting when it comes to, instead of slaughtering the lizard men, to bring them under their rule in a non-fear guided campaign. So, you know, you have that, and it's very interesting. It's very fun. It's an interesting concept, the idea that NPCs can grow, and with Cocytus in particular, he grows along the line of, I guess, well, no, because Ainz is also pushing for this as well, because to some degree, Ainz doesn't, or how would I say this? Because when you have these moments like these, you see the degrees to Ainz's character, and this is especially prevalent because, or especially pronounced because Ainz came from a company background. So he has the idea of what to do to make, I suppose, employees work to the best of their abilities. Now, when it came to Cocytus, and to some other degree the other floor guardians, he is saying that there is value in people internalizing the task that they are given, that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Ultimately, in this one, he was guiding the floor guardians and Cocytus especially along the path of individualization, or individualization beyond the constraints of the Yggdrasil system. So it's just ultimately a really cool thing to watch unfold. Like, there are the parts where Ainz knows what he's doing, and then there are the parts that, you know, you find out when he's rolling around in bed that he had no idea what he was doing, at least when it came to like expecting that Cocytus would make that request. So it's ultimately cool to see. There is also the aspect of the way that the other floor guardians interact. Well, you know, you had Albedo here maintaining the respect towards Ainz at a relatively high level, wanting everyone to like maintain that respect, versus the way Demiurge acts. Like, he has a soft spot for Cocytus, like he has a soft spot for some of the floor guardians, and it is nice to see him on the supportive side when it came to Cocytus. Him giving Cocytus that last little bit of help was, of course, something that is kind of heartwarming when you see the camaraderie within the group, even though it's coming from Demiurge, and you might think, oh, like, man, this guy's pretty evil, or like, this guy can be a real jerk sometimes, but it still is nice to see. There is some degree of care between the floor guardians. And again, like Cocytus here, like, he's in the doghouse, he got in trouble, he didn't do the best, people weren't expecting him to do the best, but still, like, I did feel bad for the guy. I'm happy that everything worked out in a way that's favorable to him. This is another little detail, is that some of the NPCs, such as Cocytus and Sebastian, they are not extreme evil. I think Cocytus is actually true neutral, as given the description of his character bio in the novel. Because of that, what he's ultimately doing here isn't motivated by the desire to destroy people. He's motivated by the desire to be loyal. That's what characterizes him as a true neutral character by the constraints of this game system. So it is nice to see that this guy gets off relatively well. Any other things I want to mention? I guess we can continue to talk about Ainz, because towards the last end of the episode, they make a giant pomp and circumstance. Actually, yeah, they make a giant ceremony with all the pomp and circumstance of a king taking his throne, a royal procession, as they say. And you know, there is some hilarity there. Like, they're just using all these things to make stairs, and it's, to some degree, it's ridiculous. But then when you consider that the act of Overlord, like, this is a very overlordly kind of act, so it was nice to see. That said, what they ultimately end up doing when the lizard folk wanted to surrender and Ainz like, no, you're not gonna surrender, we're gonna fight this out. You know, it does remind me though that even though it's a normal person underneath that mask, there are some spots where Ainz's behavior is kind of fitting an Overlord. For instance, not refusing surrender, that is that's a really dick thing to do, is what I would say. And at this point is where I would say I wonder to what degree does the gamer mentality get involved here. Like, we know Momonga or Ainz or whatever you want to call him, we know that he in particular does have some weird areas in his psyche. He does have some weird contradictions somewhere in his head. And so you have these little moments where this guy who gives his followers these lessons, cares about his followers, treats them like kids, treats them like children that he has to take care of because of the honor, or not because of the honor, but because of the love that he has with his friends from the real world. He wants to take care of these kids, and he wants to guide them. And you have like those stark contrast moments when he's talking to the lizard folk and he's refusing a surrender request. It's just, there is that discrepancy, and it is kind of, how would I say it? It is kind of weird when you see the way the favoritism manifests. And when you have like this kind of situation where you're pretty much saying like, hey, all you guys, pick your guys. No, you're not going to surrender this peacefully. You guys are going to die before you surrender. It's just one of those things where it's pretty brutal. It's just an interesting aspect of the character, and it's just jarring. It's jarring sometimes. The same guy that rolls around in scented sheets worrying about how rich people behave is also the guy that's refusing surrender requests and just going through with being an Overlord. It's just a very interesting thing overall, and I find it really hard to put into words, but I think this is one of the interesting aspects of that character. And this season is going to have more of those moments where like Ainz's mentality in general will crack a little bit, or not crack, but show its range in more ways. So I'm very excited for that. Overall, episode 4 I think is a strong episode. I think it is. I really enjoyed the camaraderie between the Overlord team in general, and I enjoy the act of being the Overlord when it's talking to the lizard folk. I'm very excited for the next coming episodes. I'm also very excited just to like start getting this through. I realize I really like seeing the interactions on screen, so I really want to move on to where there are a lot of floor guardian interactions. Moving on, let's just touch on the last interaction, that being Crush and Zaryusu, where they pretty much culminate their love plot by Crush saying or telling Zaryusu to impregnate her. So that's just, that's funny, man. Like, when you consider it, they've only known each other for a few days, but then you bring in that animalistic aspect and it makes more sense. And it's just, oh, you're gonna go die? Well, you might as well leave your seed with me. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Propagate the species. So that was nice. Ship has sailed. I think it's amazing. One of the best ships this season. Competing with only a few others, but still one of the best ships this season. I enjoyed it. Really liked it. Anyway, guys, overall, I think it's a solid episode. Again, my highlight for this episode is definitely just Ainz's behavior in general, and Cocytus is a high second for just how bad it made me feel just seeing this poor guy kind of struggle there. But yeah, I think it's a good episode. So guys, let me know what you thought. It was a bit of a break, a bit of a chill one because there wasn't that much fighting. But hey, next episode, buddy, next episode. So let's end it there. Till next time, guys. I hope you have a great day.